My name is Ethan, and for the past 2 years I've been practicing lucid dreaming. It started as a curiosity. I read about how people could become aware that they were dreaming, and then explore their dreams consciously. At first it sounded impossible, but after a few weeks of keeping a dream journal and doing reality checks during the day, it started working. Most of my lucid dreams were strange but harmless, floating over cities, walking through places that looked almost real but slightly distorted, talking to dream characters that vanished the moment I woke up. Dreams always disappeared when morning came. At least they were supposed to. Last night, I had one of the most vivid lucid dreams I've ever experienced. I remember the moment I realized I was dreaming. I was standing in a long hallway, and something about the place felt wrong. The lights above me were dim and yellow, spaced evenly along the ceiling. The walls were old and gray, like concrete that had been there for decades. On both sides of the hallway were doors. Dozens of them. Every door looked identical. Dark wood, no windows, just a metal handle and a small keyhole beneath it. The hallway stretched farther than I could see. The air felt heavy and silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence you feel at night, but the kind where even your own breathing sounds too loud. I raised my hand and looked at it. My fingers were slightly blurry around the edges. That was when it clicked. I'm dreaming, I said out loud. The moment I said it, everything sharpened. The walls, the doors, the floor beneath my feet. Lucid dreams always do that. When you realize you're dreaming, the world becomes clearer instead of fading. I began walking down the hallway, examining the doors. They were all locked. I tried a few handles just to be sure, but none of them moved. As I continued walking, I noticed something strange. At the far end of the hallway, there was a figure. At first, it was just a silhouette standing beneath one of the dim lights. Tall, still, completely motionless. I couldn't see its face. The light behind it cast the entire figure in shadow. I didn't feel afraid immediately. In lucid dreams, dream characters often appear. Sometimes they talk to you. Sometimes they ignore you completely. But this one felt different. It wasn't walking. It wasn't reacting to me. It was just standing there, watching. I continued walking forward, my footsteps echoing softly along the floor. The figure didn't move. About halfway down the hallway, something caught my eye on the ground. A small object lying near one of the doors. I crouched down to look at it. It was a key, a small brass key with a circular handle and a long, thin shaft. The metal looked old, slightly tarnished, with tiny scratches across its surface. I picked it up. The metal felt cold in my hand. That sensation surprised me. Touch in dreams is usually vague, but this felt real, solid. I turned the key over between my fingers, examining it. Then I looked back toward the end of the hallway. The figure was still there, still watching me. For a moment, I considered walking closer, maybe even trying one of the doors with the key. But something about the situation felt wrong. Not dangerous exactly, just wrong. The kind of instinct you get when you know you shouldn't push something too far. So I decided to wake myself up. In lucid dreams, waking up is usually easy. You just close your eyes or focus on your body. In the real world, the hallway began to fade. The lights dimmed. The last thing I remember before waking up was the silhouette at the end of the corridor. It hadn't moved even once. Morning light was shining through my window when I opened my eyes. For a few seconds, I lay there quietly, letting the details of the dream settle in my memory. The hallway, the doors, the key, the silent figure. I've trained myself to recall dreams carefully, so I reached over to the small notebook on my nightstand. I always write them down before they start fading. I sat up in bed and stretched. Then I looked toward my desk across the room, and that was when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There was a key on my desk, a small brass key. At first, my brain tried to dismiss it as something normal. Maybe it had been there before, and I just hadn't noticed. But as I stood up and walked closer, the unease in my chest grew heavier. The key looked exactly like the one from the dream. Same circular handle, same thin shaft, same small scratches across the metal. I picked it up slowly. The metal felt cold in my hand, just like it had in the dream. I stood there for a long time staring at it, trying to come up with a rational explanation. Maybe I had seen the key somewhere in real life, and my brain recreated it in the dream. Maybe it belonged to something in my apartment that I had forgotten about. But no matter how many explanations I tried, none of them answered the same question. How did it get onto my desk overnight? I live alone. No one else has access to my apartment, and I was certain that the key had not been there before I went to sleep. I eventually placed it back on the desk and tried to ignore the growing feeling of unease. Dreams are strange. The mind plays tricks. But that night, something else happened. Around 2 a.m, I woke up suddenly. At first, I didn't know why. The room was dark except for the faint glow of the city lights outside my window. Then I heard it, a soft metallic sound, like something gently tapping against wood. I sat up and looked toward the desk. The key was no longer lying flat. It was standing upright against the edge of a notebook. For a moment, I wondered if I had accidentally bumped the desk earlier. But the tapping sound came again, very quiet, very slow. The key tipped forward and fell onto the desk with a soft clink. My heart began to beat faster. I got out of bed and walked over to the desk. The key was completely still, just lying there. I picked it up again. Cold, solid, real. I placed it back down and went back to bed, telling myself that exhaustion was probably making me overthink everything. But the next night, things became stranger. I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom when I glanced at the mirror. For a split second, I thought I saw someone standing behind me in the reflection, a tall, dark shape near the doorway. I spun around immediately. The hallway outside the bathroom was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, the reflection showed only me, standing there alone. Over the next few days, I started noticing small things. The key would change position on the desk. Once it appeared on the floor near my chair. Another time I found it beside my bed when I woke up. I stopped touching it. I stopped trying to explain it. But one thought kept growing louder in my mind. The figure at the end of the hallway, the watcher, in the dream, it had been standing at the far end of a corridor full of locked doors. And I had picked up a key that clearly belonged to that place. What if the hallway wasn't just a dream location? What if it was something else? What if those doors were meant to stay closed? The idea began to haunt me, because if the key had crossed from the dream into my room, then maybe something else could too. Tonight, I made a decision. I'm not going to sleep. I've been sitting in my chair for the past 4 hours with the lights on. The key is on the desk in front of me. The room is silent, except for the faint hum of traffic outside. My eyes burn from exhaustion. But I know one thing now. If the barrier between dreams and reality is real, then it probably opens when I fall asleep, which means staying awake is the only way to stop whatever is trying to cross over. I stood up a few minutes ago to stretch my legs. That's when I looked toward the mirror on the wall. At first, everything looked normal, just my reflection in the dim light. Then I noticed something that made my entire body freeze. There was someone standing behind me, tall, still, a dark silhouette just a few feet away. For a moment, I thought it was only in the mirror, but slowly, carefully, I turned around, and the figure was there, standing silently in the middle of my room, watching me.